Hey, hello, welcome to episode 2 of Dice Hosers podcast. And if you've come back to the sequel, either you didn't listen to the first one or this is your second one and you're a glutton for punishment. And so
Or
I'm here
so
with,
bored that he has nothing better to do.
that's right, that's right. It's like, how do I get to sleep at night? I know, I'll listen to that podcast again. So I've got So our agenda today, we're interviewing Andrew Verticchio of Chicago Dice, who is the TO for Adepticon 2023, and it's a really good interview. And we dig into what happened last year and what he's been up to and what he's going to be doing in the future. So it's pretty cool. So stick with us for that. And then we've got uh, the gang with us from last time. Managed to rustle them all up. So, hey, say hi, Evan. Friday night, yeah, because obviously they're too old to be doing anything important. So
Hey, it's
We
my
can we can
bedtime
we
right
can
now.
sit down for this.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So as you see, we've got Evan, South African Evan. Would you say hello?
Hello. Goeiedag.
Sean out in the boonies. And then we've got Matthew Stewart, not Stewart.
Yep. Hey.
And Kev, I have no taste in football teams. Wooderson.
Hey, you're just jealous.
Oh, look, he's paying attention.
And then, of course, my co-conspirator, Maneuver, or Derek.
Hey, guys.
So how's everyone doing?
You mean 9.5?
9.5. You got to be careful with that because that could mean measurement as well. So
Open to
Listen, if you want to multiply it by 3, you go right ahead.
Well, I'll answer the question. Good. I'm doing good. How are you doing, Craig?
Thank you very much, Sean. I appreciate you following the script.
Evan, what's up with you?
So yeah, I've just moved house. Still unpacking. Yeah, hobby desk is a bit of a mess at the moment with tools and things. I have to put shelves up tomorrow. So
Well, at least
Yeah.
you got
That should
your
be the
computer
first
put
thing
together.
impact.
yeah, I would, if I was in charge, I would have done the first thing. I would have unpacked. I'm not in charge, so yeah,
You're just the manual labor.
totally.
Yeah.
So they haven't done any
That's why
hobby
it takes
things
so
for
long.
about 3 weeks.
You know, it's interesting because we get married and we have wedding rings, and I believe it's a Roman tradition that the wedding rings went on the left finger because that was to be the return from blood back to the heart. And when you put the ring on the woman's finger, you're supposed to be able to control her. I think we fucked it up. There's an amount of control from those rings, but it's going the opposite way that we figured. I'm just saying. All the married
You do
guys out
realize
there are
this is
totally
recorded
noted.
and
You think my wife's gonna listen to this?
if Derek's
Pay
not here
attention
next
in
time,
real life.
something's happened. He's had an accident. In inverted commas.
Another one.
Yeah.
So obviously no hobby activity from you today. Sean never stops painting. So what do you got on your table there? Looks like you're doing some Blood Red Skies there, Sean.
I'm painting a bong. Richard Bong. He's the
Nice.
P38 ace.
Glad
My
you
ace
finished.
collection.
That's not what I heard.
It's
But I
Canada.
was just getting ready to do some Slaves of Darkness for AOS too, one of my other hobbies. So I got that on the painting table because we've got a tournament tomorrow, last March of the Dwarves, before I switch to Slaves to Darkness.
Nice. Kevin, what's on your table?
You talking to me?
Well,
I thought you
unless
said
there's
Evan.
another Kevin. Man, I wish my sound effects worked because now's the time I'd be hitting the crickets button.
Stalingrad. Just finishing up the last cardboard bits that I didn't like the way they fit together, so I got to make some modifications to those. And the smokestack.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh,
That'd
nice.
be great.
Cool. Yeah.
Looks good.
Which I just pulled apart into 3 pieces. But yeah, that's it right now. And Craig and Matt got to figure out their color scheme.
Oh, for the
They're gonna
Stalingrad
use
thing.
part of their display board.
And Matt, you look
Yeah.
like you're filing away and trying to lose a finger. Want to be
Yeah,
just like me.
You're my hero. No, my intention was to work on my Blood Red Skies tonight, but I haven't gotten around to airbrushing them yet, so can't do that for you guys. So I was hoping to have them ready to start hand painting, but so at the moment I'm working on one of the prizes we got at Adepticon from the doubles tournament, I believe it was. It's the Micro Art Studios, one of the buildings for Bolt Action.
Oh yeah, I got a couple of those
Yeah.
too back there.
I forgot all about it. I don't
It's
remember-
nice.
I think that was from singles, and I think doubles we got the landing craft.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry. Yeah, this was singles.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this was
What's
the
the
one
building?
that Warlord put on. Sorry, was that correct?
What's the building? What's the terrain?
The Normandy.
Oh yeah.
The
It's,
Normandy
yeah.
series. Nice.
It's actually not even in the picture. So yeah, it's one of those.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, okay. Sweet.
Handy
It's really
Blending.
nice.
Good
I'm really
marketing. They
impressed
don't
with
even
the
put the picture.
So
Well, I
I've
guess they have one picture for all their Normandy stuff, I guess. I don't know. It's the only one I've got out of there, so I'd like to get some more.
I've recently had a discovery. Well, maybe not even a discovery so much of an aha moment. I've figured it out that if I sit and watch TV or scroll through my phone or play on the computer, I have no chores. But the moment I bring out paintbrushes and models, suddenly the honeydew list comes out. So I've decided I think I'm going to move all my painting stuff to work and do it there. Other than that, it's spring, so it's been spring cleaning here. So my hobby has been figuring out this podcast software and trying to get it working. Had a bit of a glitch last night. So with my interview with Andrew, there's no video of me. The audio got working, but for some reason I couldn't get the video. It was conflicting, and I didn't want to spend all night make these guys wait. Other than that, yeah. So we're going to take a break right now and introduce Andrew. Craig and I are going to talk to him for a bit. And then we'll come back and we'll all discuss what we're doing, snap steps for all of us, and for what we've accomplished and what we've decided to do for Adepticon 2024. Kind of relevant given who we were talking to. And yeah, so if you guys want to listen to this interview with Andrew, sweet guy. If you haven't met him, he is amazing and a TO extraordinaire. All right,
Yeah.
so without any further ado, let's get right into that.
Is being recorded.
Hey, all right.
Backup, I
Okay.
love it.
Yeah, it says backup. Okay. Awesome. Okay. So, hi, welcome to this section of the podcast, episode 2, and we have our very first interview, our very first guest on Dice Hosers podcast. I've got the very lovely Andrew V. If you could pronounce your last name for me properly, with that great name. But we've got Andrew V from Chicago Dice, and he is the Zen-like TO of the Adepticon Combat Patrol and Doubles. And hey, Andrew, thank you very much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you, Craig. I've been called many things before, but Zen-like is not one of them. That's a first.
Oh, well, it was such a good event, and we'll get into that and what's happening in the future. But we've also got Derek, some technical issues with his camera, but we do have him here in our hearts.
I'm hiding.
On sound.
I am hiding, learning all this new nifty software to do all this. Who says an old dog can't be taught new tricks?
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so let's get on with this interview because there's a lot I'd like to get through, Andrew. So for our listeners, one of the things I just want to let people know is that, as I say, Andrew was the TO at Adepticon. The Dice Hoses went down to Adepticon to Schaumburg, and we met Andrew and had the best bolt action tournament time we'd ever had. It was awesome. You probably heard some of us going on about it and ranting on the first episode. And so that's how we met. And of course, I love the bolt action. And Andrew, I'd like to just kind of have you introduce yourself and who you are and where you are.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Andrew Verticchio. I've been one of the many TOs at Adepticon for 4 years now. But previous to that, I first started with bolt action, oh goodness, all the way back at the beginning. I think it was the summer of 2012. No, that can't be right. Must have been 2014 was the first year that bolt action was published, and they were demoing it at Gen Con, which I don't know if either of you have heard of Gen Con, but it's that massive convention in Indianapolis, and Warlord Games was premiering it for the first time in the US, and they had 2 huge demo boards. One was Carentan, one was the Battle of Berlin. I'd been playing Warhammer for a very long time, but World War II history has always been like my other hobby. So when I was strolling through the vendor hall and caught sight of that, I mean, it was game over from there on out. Yeah, I walked out of there with the rule book, and then my buddies and I, just a few weeks later, we placed a huge order with Warlord Games, and I'm fairly certain we did it over the phone. It's like their US like shipping wasn't set up yet. So yeah, I've been playing since the very beginning.
Wow, that's awesome. And just a quick segue there. We Dice Hoses came into this in 2nd edition, and we've only been playing it for about 7-8 months. Is there a big difference between the 1st edition and the 2nd edition?
No, there's really not. 2nd edition cleaned up a lot of things, and some of the biggest changes were that the rally order, you don't take your pins into account to test your rally order, which you never rallied in 1st edition, because if you had 7 pins on you, why would you waste your turn attempting to rally when you might as well just attempt to run, for example. And then the down order changed from -1 to hit to -2 to hit. In 1st edition, people never went down. People do it all the time now because it's a very effective way to not get hit. Those are probably 2 of the biggest changes. And then they added templates. Before, all of HE was either D6, D3, just like when you're in a building in 2nd edition. But yeah, in 1st edition, you always rolled. 2nd edition added the templates. Then the last big thing was snap to action from your lieutenants or your captains. That didn't exist in 1st edition. So you see officers get a lot more play now.
Yeah, awesome.
But they still don't know what they're doing.
No, they really don't. I mean, I couldn't tell you the last time that I used a snap to action.
Or an officer above inexperienced.
Well, if you follow the leadership standard, which is an Adepticon rule, then you need half of your units to be inexperienced to do that.
I like that rule though, because it's just kind of frustrating to watch when you're watching battle reports, when you're watching people play, and you go into tournaments, and all you see is like these guys fresh out of officer cadet. You know, they just got their first rank, and now they're running like these elite platoons of Paragurkas, and you're like, who
You're
does
saying
this?
it doesn't feel good when you're across the table of nothing but veteran, stubborn U.S. Marines led by a single inexperienced 2nd lieutenant.
right? Like, it's just like, really?
Yeah.
Like, I understand the min-max side of it. It's just, I wish there was some way in the next update or version that they do that they can make those officers a little bit better. Give a reason to have them other than, the reason you guys have an Adepticon. Half your platoon's veteran, you need a veteran lieutenant or officer of some sort.
Yeah. No, I'm right there with you, and I don't want to take us too far off
Yeah.
topic, but I could talk wish list for third edition.
Yeah.
That's a different episode. That's a
Can we
different
start with
episode.
an index?
We'll have to get you back for that one, Andrew.
All right, sounds good. You can count on it.
Chicago Dice.
Yes.
You are a member of Chicago Dice, and how long have you been with that group, and what's your involvement?
Yeah, so since the beginning. So not only am I a member, I'm the founder.
Wow.
But that makes it sound like a lot more involved than it actually is.
Yeah.
It started as a just like a personal hobby blog back in 2015, and then I roped a few friends of mine into also help contribute articles, product reviews, tutorials, things like that. But when I started doing event planning for Adepticon, that's when I really leaned into leveraging the website to post up all the event rules, all the event results. And then during the pandemic, I started building out the Bolt Action Beginner's Guide. And that was just a pure passion project that I kept adding onto more and more and more box breakdowns, starter army lists. I'm sure both of you are aware that on the Warlord Games starter army sets, which I love, they always come with like a suggested 1,000 point army list based on the contents. Almost without fail, those suggested army lists are just not good. And I mean that both competitively and thematically, and don't really make use of everything that's available. So a big piece of the beginner's guide is, hey, you just bought that winter German starter army. Don't build it that way, but try this way or this way. So it's just been a really, really fun project.
Yeah, I think actually when I was first getting into Bolt Action, I remember stumbling across Chicago Dice, and I think I read all of the beginner stuff. Right. So what I got right and what I got wrong is all your fault, Andrew.
Yeah.
I can't take all the credit. I had probably a half a dozen other people also writing them. So
Yeah.
if either of you have any ideas, I'm happy to throw them on there. It's a community project.
Yeah. So, well, actually, one of the things that we want to do on our website is a resources page that allows people to go to different places, because there's so much good content out there. There's
There
Chicago
is.
Dice, there's Lead Pursuit, there's the Ontario Bolt Action group. Like, there's so many different groups you can go to for information, and I think that this, for our perspective, this isn't I mean, like probably yourself, it's not in it for the money. We're in it for the community and the fun, right? So,
Yep.
Yeah, that's big fan of Chicago Dice. Love it.
Oh, appreciate it. Thank you. Glad to know somebody's reading it.
It is nice to have that little
validation.
Yeah, thank you.
So, Adepticon.
Yes.
How did you get into running the event, and also how did it evolve? Like,
Yeah. So if we can take a hopefully not too long a journey down memory road, I was actually reminiscing about this with Ben, good friend of mine, fellow Chicago Dice contributor, that Adepticon 2023 this past March, I took 4 days off of work starting the Wednesday before to the Monday after. I'm at the hotel for 4 nights, 5 days. It's this massive production where I'm involved. I'm running events, I'm playing in events, I'm judging painting, I'm submitting painting, I'm doing all this work. But the first Adepticon I ever attended, I was there for one event for 8 hours, showed up the day it started, left that evening, went and got Chipotle, and then never looked back. So it's been this journey, this evolution. When we first started playing, it was always Warhammer Fantasy doubles. That was the only reason we went. It was the only event that we stayed, and that was 2 whole venues ago, because Adepticon keeps growing, it keeps getting bigger. When they added Bolt Action, I think I played either the second or third year that Bolt Action was added. I played in Combat Patrol, I played in Tank War, I played in doubles, and then in 2018, in the lead up to Adepticon 2018, the guy who had previously run Combat Patrol, he dropped out, and then the TO for doubles, his name is Jeremy, he asked me if I wanted to run Combat Patrol. I had never run an event before, and I said, sure, give it a shot. I had absolute blast. It was the time of my life. So then I've TO'd Combat Patrol 4 times and doubles 2 times. So I'm doing both of those events now.
Mm. Yeah, wow, that's fantastic. So you were playing since 2018.
I was
and
TO since 2018.
Okay, sorry, TOs. And when were you playing from?
Let's see, the first time ever, or the first time for bolt action?
First time for bolt action at Adepticon.
First time for bolt action at Adepticon would have been 2016. Combat Patrol, doubles, and Tank War. So I played 2016, 2017. Then I was the TO for Combat Patrol 2018, and I still played in doubles in 2018 and 2019. Then it was canceled 2020, 2021. And then 2022, 2023, I was the TO for both Combat Patrol and doubles.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because we couldn't go down in 22 because the border was still shut. I was like, what do you mean in 2022? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And we went down before Dice Hoser existed. Derek and I and a couple of others went down in 2019, and we played in Flames of War.
Oh, sure, yeah. Yeah, because that's been there a long
same
time
building,
too.
right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
and I remember we were looking at the bolt action tables and the armies and just thinking, okay, these things are fantastic. So,
oh, they were the most beautiful tables, bar none.
Yeah, I don't know the reason for that. I think we're just incredibly lucky, but there's a concentration of people who are able to provide tables for bolt action at Adepticon, and like they're just gorgeous.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you have Warhammer 40,000 that's got, 300 players, but the tables are like, yeah, they're fine. They're competition tournament tables, but these tables that people bring for bolt action are nuts. Like it is a privilege to get to play on them, in my opinion.
Oh,
yeah,
definitely.
it's great that the community does that, right? That a lot of them come from the community, which is amazing.
It is. It's incredible.
And you could see the difference, and it's not to knock Warlord Games, but you could see the difference between the Combat Patrol and the doubles versus the singles, which was on the third day. You could see the quality in tables was completely different, and it was just fantastic that the community tables were far and above. Different needs, because there's for the individual gamer versus Warlord as the business providing that.
Yeah,
but it was great to see the standard was exceeded.
Yeah.
By the community,
and I mean, you gotta give Warlord a shout out. Like, they traveled all of their tables up, and then how to set them up. So it's one or two guys doing all that work versus a bunch of individuals bringing in their tables. But still, and that's just my way of saying Warlord tables were nice. It's just, how do you compete with the love of each individual making one specific amazing table?
Yeah, and I don't mean to take any credit at all, but I think it was a bit of a stroke of genius when I asked for, hey, can we do an Adepticon medal for the best battlefield also? Yeah. So it's just like best painted, it's just like best general. There is somebody out there planning for next year going, you know what? I want that award. Mm-hmm. I want the most votes for my table. Yeah. And people, they'll be trying to one-up each other. And it's incredible to see that, that I could have had just a small part in creating a community where people are going all out on the so-called third player, the third army. Because the games are just more fun when you're on a good table.
And a warning to anybody listening wants to go to Adepticon and is thinking, hey, I'm going to go for that. Take a look at some pictures, because the tables are probably 10 times better than what you're imagining what they are right now. Everybody's already been doing the step up. You're coming in, at the last furlough of the race.
Well, it was the El Alamein table that won it this year, wasn't it? So, which was just amazing.
Yeah, there was a El Alamein train station that won it for either Combat Patrol or doubles. I can't remember which one, because then there was the Italian or North African marketplace that won it on the other event, and either of those tables, 6 of one, half dozen of the other, and they were in a dead heat both nights. It's just so cool to see.
It was.
I don't like picking out best army because I'm not a very good painter myself, and I can see the difference, but because you're not very good, you can't see the ultimate difference. But everybody's kind of made terrain at some point. Whoever did win, or whoever didn't win, man, don't take that as a hit. It is, as a player walking around trying to pick the best table, it is one of the hardest things you'll ever do. And at what point I was just like, you know what, this one, because I played on it and I know how it works, versus this one that looks just as good, but I didn't get a chance to play on it. That's how I came down to my decision, because I like, there were so many great tables. And it's not just like one or two or three, which you usually see with best painted armies. It was like 15, 16 great, amazing tables.
Yeah, and I just pulled up the results, so we'll give credit where credit is due. For
Oh,
Combat
that's
Patrol
awesome.
last year, it was Ernie with the LL main table, and then for doubles, it was Paul with his marketplace table.
Yeah, both well
And I
deserved.
think you're right, though, Derek. I think the key part of it is the fact that how it plays is important, because you can have a beautiful table, but if it's a complete disaster for you to play on, right?
Well, yeah, we've all seen tables like that. You're like, well, this is
right?
really cool, but honestly, I don't know if I'd enjoy a game on it.
Yeah.
I gotta move my hands through all of this MDF.
Yeah. So since you've been running it from 2018 and participating from before then, but what's the attendance been like? The growth of the attendance, have you seen that in what was it before, and how does 2023 compare to the past?
Yeah, so 2023, this past March, that was without question the most participation we've had ever for bolt action. To put some numbers on it, so Combat Patrol was capped at 40 players, and I had a wait list of about a dozen people. And we played all 40 players, all 20 tables, all night for Combat Patrol. And then doubles, the following day we had space for 40, because it's the same 20 tables, and we had 32 teams, which is 64 players. So over those 2 days, and there is some overlap, but turnstile attendance was 104 bolt action players, which is pretty incredible. And I think the following Saturday they had 30-ish at the singles. There's somewhere between 30 and 40, which is also awesome. So you're creeping up close to 150 people playing bolt action over the course of 3 days. So that was the most we've ever had. The previous year, 2022 is a weird one. Big recovery year. COVID was still very much in effect for a lot of people. You two just mentioned you couldn't even get across the border.
You guys and Adepticon didn't even know if they were running, it seemed like, from one month to the next.
Yeah, so in those staff calls leading up to it, it really was, we are preparing and moving forward as if we have the green light, but we know full well that this entire thing could fall apart any day.
Yeah.
So
like the day before.
Yes. Yeah. And it did happen, and we went ahead and everything was fine. But after 2 years off, nobody really knew what attendance was going to be like. Overall attendance in 2022 was less than 2019, which really wasn't much of a surprise, but 2023 set a new record at everything. It wasn't just bolt action, it was across the board. They've never had that
numbers
many
like that.
people.
Yeah. That kind of makes sense too, because at that point it was everybody was feeling safe.
Oh, like and people just wanted to play.
And then
you got at the mouth.
Yeah, then you got all those people that may have been like every second year or maybe not at all, just like, I'm getting out. Right. I don't care. I'm getting out. I got to do something. Mini vacation.
Yeah. Well, you've been painting all for 2 years in the pandemic. Right? You want to get out and play some games.
That's why those tables were so nice.
We will touch on Adepticon 2024 a bit later, but sticking with attendance, do you have any objectives for 2024's attendance, or are you kind of sticking with the 2023 kind of allocation?
Yeah, so right now it is too soon to make any sort of final call, but the event submission will be for 40 spots again, Combat Patrol 40 spots again for doubles. Even though I know that demand is higher, especially for something like Combat Patrol, I feel like you might lose a little bit of the magic once you pass a certain threshold. And I don't really know what that threshold is, so maybe we bump it up 44, 46. But I don't want to make it too big. And maybe that's a little selfish, but I've seen it happen before where events just sprawl and then it's no longer the intimate event that we all have come to know and love.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
makes
no, that's
sense.
good. Yeah, absolutely. What was one of the, or a couple of things? What were some of the highlights for you of 2023, the bolt action weekend that you saw or loved or stand out?
No, that's a really good question. The first one is 2023 was the second year with our updated sportsmanship scoring where every player starts every game with max points. And as long as you're a decent opponent, you're going to walk away with all 10 points each game, all 30 points for the whole event. In Combat Patrol, which as I said, it was 40 people, 3 games, not a single sportsmanship deduction the entire night. Like that is incredible. That does not happen in other games, in other tournaments, at other events where you can have that many people playing that many games and everybody was cool. You know, everybody loved everybody, and it was that was phenomenal to see. And I think in doubles there was only one minor infraction. So again, like I think it was
I thought
just
you had
about,
announced that everybody kept their points in doubles as well.
I might be misspeaking, and I can.
No.
There was someone, 1 or 2 people they were 28.
That's right. Yes.
Okay.
So there was one team that, and I try not to shame people, but there was one team that got one minor infraction. Everybody else got major points. But again, you don't see that everywhere, and that's pretty incredible. And that speaks to folks coming with the same intention, the same goals, the same approach, which is just incredible. And then the other piece was the Club Cup. So that was an idea I had in 2022, because I like to think that not everybody does this on their own, and people have friends and they want to put a name on their little team. So we take the combined scores for Combat Patrol and doubles, and the team that gets the most overall points, they win the Club Cup. So the first time we did it in 2022, I think there were only 4 teams, 4 clubs. Last year there were 8 or 9. And so just to see that growth with that too, that there were all these people coming up to the table and saying, yeah, we're with that club, we're with that team, we're with that club. That was really, really cool. And I want to keep that going as well.
Yeah, one of the questions I got about that is, just as a slight segue for a moment, in how does the scoring work for the clubs? Is it the more players you have that are participating in the 2 days, or is it the best of so many? Like, how does it work?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we take the top 4 individual scores per club in Combat Patrol, and then the top 2 scores in teams for doubles. Add those scores together. So the max score any team could have is 125 points in either Combat Patrol or doubles. So you take those 4 scores, add them up, take 2 scores for doubles, add them up, and then that's how you get it. So if you have 4 individuals, 4 in Combat Patrol, 2 teams of 2 in doubles, that's the most people that can score. Obviously, if you have a bigger team, then that's a higher chance to get people up higher in the rankings.
Yeah,
but if you had
the lower guys out.
Right. If you had 6 people playing in Combat Patrol, only your top 4 are gonna score. And it was close. It was really, really close.
Yeah. Well, we're hoping to make it closer next year. So.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
That's our goal. We were like, how do we get at this? So,
well, I think we only had. Did we have 1 or 2 guys in the Combat Patrol?
Just Kev was in Combat Patrol because of the technical issue.
The technical issues getting on.
I don't. I'm not trying to dodge all of that, but I have nothing to do with
Oh
registration.
no, not at all.
I was sitting at my computer trying to get in a hobby class too, and I couldn't get in there either. It was bad, and they did a whole a whole debrief on it, and the vendor C-Vent went down that day. Like it was a global outage, just the worst timing imaginable. It was so frustrating. And the year before it was silky smooth, so really just a bummer.
So we're going to be fingers ready for next year.
Yes.
So that's really cool.
Yeah, more fingers ready
so-
than we were this year. That's for sure.
Sure.
Even though we're all at our computers.
Well, we'll use phones and everything as well
Yeah.
this time.
Yeah.
So just going back to the highlights, so the club tournament was one of those highlights. Any others that stand out for you, 2023?
Yeah, there were 2 father-son teams.
Oh, nice.
I think that's awesome. I don't
Mm.
maybe it's because I love playing games with my dad and my brothers, but it was like just really cool to see that there was not 1 but 2 teams at doubles that were a father and a son. I'm like, this is what I'm talking about right here.
Yeah.
Like you can't beat that.
Didn't one of the father-son teams win something in the doubles? I seem to recall.
So both
Or maybe you're
of
just mentioning.
both of the young guys, they both won the Young Gun Award, of course.
Okay.
So they both walked out of there with a big old prize because I want to do everything I can to keep
Yeah.
young people coming back. That's just for the good of everybody. And one of them, Wyatt, his dad came up to me afterward and said that he wanted to talk to me about trying to get a Bolt Action Youngbloods tournament up and running for the next year. So that'd be 16-ish and under, which if there's anything I can do to make that happen, I am all about it. That would be
Definitely.
incredible.
Yeah, that would be a hoot.
Because they have it for Warhammer.
Yeah.
I don't see any reason why we couldn't do one for Bolt Action too.
No, that sounds like an awesome idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Any more highlights? We'll move on.
I think
Those
those are the big ones. Yeah.
So really kind of community driven, less about the game or so much speak, but more about the community around it and the players. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we'll see more of that next year.
I hope so too.
For 2024, what kind of things are we going to see, or what would you like to see improve, and or what changes are you looking to put in place for 2024?
So
and you could probably look at it maybe first from less from the rules immediately and more around the event.
yeah. Oh man. Okay, that's a great question. So 2022 was the first year that Adepticon split out into the 2 venues. So there's the quote unquote main venue and then the satellite venue. The satellite venue is where Bolt Action has been these last 2 years. Last year was better than 2022, but there still is work to be done to make that secondary venue really feel more like Adepticon.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can see some of those improvements, and that's capital A Adepticon. That's the whole event overall. There's not much that just Bolt Action can do about that.
Yeah.
Because I really felt like we were bringing the energy, we were bringing the vibes. It was awesome, but it didn't really feel like a giant gaming convention, which is what this is. It sort of felt a little more isolated. So more could be done there, I think.
Okay, that's cool. And what about then the tournament itself, or the 2 tournaments itself? So what are you?
Yeah, so we're doing the single theme again for Combat Patrol and doubles. The end of the beginning, 1942, 1943. It is not a requirement. I'm not in the business of telling people how to hobby or turning away hobby. If people want to bring, Last Levy, Defense of Berlin, you totally can. That being said, something like 85+% of all the participants last year brought early war, which was the theme. So really pushing the theme, encouraging people to bring army lists from 1942, 1943. The more people that do, the better it gets. It's really sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy almost. If more people play it, it just keeps getting better and better and better. So I'm not complaining about the theme turnout last year because it really was impressive, but we still have room to grow and to push it further. And 1942 and 1943, that is a rich time frame to go after. I mean, some pretty titanic battles and theaters took place there. There's a lot you could pull for a Bolt Action.
And I gotta say, I love the fact that you're keeping both in the same theme, so you could, like, for people traveling far like us, we got an 8-hour drive. I'm sure there's people flying that's even worth bringing multiple armies for multiple games, and then, this just limited everything we had to bring. It's like, okay, bolt action covered, 1 box, boom. Now, what else are we bringing for whatever else we're playing? Here you go. And for myself, like I brought fins. I could have played the combat patrol, but I didn't even get on the when you heard how long that wait list was, I'm like, yeah, that's not going to happen. But I played Conflict 47, and then I just expanded out the list to playing the doubles. It was great. So I like that.
Awesome.
I like that you keep those together. It'd be nice if, but I guess I can't now. But yeah, the keeping that together is awesome.
No,
From a player perspective.
No, that's great. That's great to hear. That makes me happy. I certainly love playing in events that have a theme. Plus, it gives me, a little more hobby kick, a little more hobby mojo, a little more motivation to go and get something built and go and get something painted. It's so cool.
It's going to be, like I say, because 42, 43, there are some phenomenal battles that took place. Of course, Stalingrad and North Africa being two of those key ones, and then some in the Pacific. But it's going to be interesting to see, because in early war theme, there's not really any good, strong lists out there in comparison to mid-war and late war. So I think that there was quite a widespread array of lists. I mean, you saw some North African stuff, although, to be honest, A Gentleman's War probably had a big impact on that.
Yeah, there was a lot of Commonwealth last year.
Yeah.
A ton.
Yeah. There were some beautiful ones as well. The one with the camel riders was great.
They won best painted.
That's right. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see how we're now, as we go into mid-war, we introduce some more dangerous lists. So to speak. We were talking about this earlier before the show. We were talking about Stalingrad and stuff. So the Street Fighting Academy specifically. But there's definitely some dangerous lists out there. So it's going to be interesting to see how the theme. I'm interested to see if that theme adoption increases, because there is some more dangerous lists in that perspective. The other thing that was interesting was, I don't think anyone who was in the top 5 list for both days didn't have an early war list. If I remember, I think they were all part themed lists.
Looking at the results real quick, and I think you are absolutely right. Yeah.
So it's not that someone turned up with a CeeLo Heights list and just wiped the floor, right? Which would have been, you could have had a very cynical player turn up and been like that, but that didn't happen.
No, you need to scroll pretty far before you find somebody that wasn't rocking early war, actually.
So it's great. It shows you that the theme works, that even the best players are coming with that theme.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see if that number increases as well for this.
Well, and Craig, you're touching on something that I have tried to put forward with these 2 events, which is, yes, we want to win games. Yes, we want to play hard, but it's combat patrol and doubles.
That's right.
Bring the weird stuff. These are theme forward events, and look no further than the score sheet. You get 60 points for battle, 30 for sports, and 30 for paint. So you could lose every game and still get all 60 of your points from just your sportsmanship and just your paint score. And it all evens out there. Like, you got to attack all aspects of the hobby if you really want to, excel at these 2 events. And I think the vast majority of players, they understand that, and they go in going like, I painted the crap out of this army, and I'm going to be a fun opponent, and I want to play fun games. Let's get after it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, speaking from my team, when I played, I think I played 2 of the top 5 teams in the doubles and had a blast.
Yeah.
It was just a blast. So, absolutely. I mean, I don't know about you, Derek.
I only played 1 top team, and I think the rest were mid to bottom. I played the winners.
Didn't you play the winning team?
Yeah, we played the winners, and that was just because I lost to him, and he won the conflict 47. So, and we hit it off great. Dave Gordy, and when in the team event, it was Dave and his buddy Chris Smead, and I called him out. I went up to Andrew and I literally said, Andrew, are you allowing grudge matches? And he's looking at me like, this is Adepticon. Who the hell do you know here, type thing, right? Because we've been talking about me coming down from Canada.
Yeah.
And so he's like, okay, like, I don't think you want to play your friends. And I'm like, that guy right there. And then he just, yeah, then it went downhill. But it was fun. We had a great game. So,
I was talking to, my buddy Tom, who helps me run all of this. He does a lot of the back end scoring and the timesheets and everything. I'm standing there with Tom during doubles, watching these games get played, and I look at him this is the worst part. I don't get to play.
Oh, I can only imagine.
I mean, bolt action 2v2. It's so much fun. Like, the system just works so well in a 2v2 format. And I think a lot of people, they realize
your friend Tom, who's doing the back end stuff, he's not a player though, is he? When I was talking to him, he said he didn't play, or you said he didn't play?
He has not played in probably two plus years.
Oh, okay. So
he's played at Adepticons. He's got some medals and stuff too under his belt. But yeah, he hasn't played in a few years.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, so there was a lot of good stuff there. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing more of that community, that drive, but also just seeing how mid-war plays out. And so I'm interested, funnily enough, I'm actually interested to see what people's display boards are going to look like. Right?
Yeah.
That for me is going to be the I don't care how the game's, I mean, I want to win, but not at all costs, right? But to me, actually, it's not, my focus isn't how do I play repetition to become a better player. It's actually at the moment, how do we create a really good display board theme with army that we can bring, knowing that that's a good step up in the, step in.
Yeah, you wanna have something that you can, for lack of a better phrase, that you can show off and be proud of. And you're speaking directly to my soul, because I rolled up with Ben one year and we took Partisans. We had the party bus, which was a 1/35th scale double-decker French bus that we had all our guys lined up in. Then we brought the sub, this big old U-boat that we sunk into some resin water effects the following year. So that's what it's all about.
We went down last year and we got an education, I will say, in a nice way, as to exactly what display boards should be, not what we thought they should be. We had our eyes opened on a lot of things too. We don't really play tank platoons, and we've only started playing 7 or 8 months, so we kind of stood away from tanks. Quickly learned that if you don't have a tank asset on the board, it's gonna hurt. If you don't, and that's just on the play side, but if you don't bring your triple A game for painting and display board, like I felt like throwing a shirt over my army every time somebody walked by, because I'll be the first to admit I am not the best painter in the world. I think I do good, and then you go down there and I'm like, I think my kids may have painted this with their fingers.
But that's the other side, though. There's nobody that's gonna walk by and.
No, I know,
it's all one. Big
if anything, I ran into the guy that had his Finn list, and he was almost the same list as mine, and we had the same 3D printed miniatures, because unfortunately Warlords only got the 2 boxes, so there wasn't a lot. So we found the same ones online. Obviously, there's not a lot to choose from there either, and the questions coming about, like, okay, how did you do this? Because they're all in white, and I was doing a gray with a white highlight, and I'm like, how'd you do it? And just, I don't know if you remember him, his display board had a tank with dry ice smoke coming out of the back.
Yeah, you're talking about Aaron.
Oh, okay.
I mean, holy smokes.
I have never seen a man paint white camouflaged army and made it look so absolutely real.
His army was incredible.
It was, and he wasn't alone. Not get me wrong. It was just one good army after another amazing army, after another great army, after another amazing army. It was just bring your A game when you come down. It's awesome. And if you don't have an A game like me, just bring your eyes and let them get big when you see all this stuff that. And it's not even just painting. Some of it was like the guy that had the Germans that were looting the building, and he had the pictures of the
Oh.
Mona Lisas laid out. Like just the foresight for these little tiny details that are just absolutely like top notch and beyond. You
Yeah, that
know,
was
the
John.
LRDG, they actually painted pink. I got pictures of
Yes.
those. I'm like, and everybody who painted is like, they
then,
did. That's it. That's
that
awesome.
that army, Jeff's LRDG, not only did he do that incredible like Pink Panther scheme on his trucks,
But it
he
was a
had
believable
knocked
pink.
out- no, it was. It was
Yeah.
perfectly executed. He had a knocked out version of every single truck also.
I
on
saw
his
those
display.
too. It was just
Come on
like-
now.
we could spend all day. I'm sorry, I keep sidetracking us on the painting
no,
because
it's
it was literally all day long. I wish I had taken more pictures, and I think next year that is going to be a goal of mine, is to try to get a picture of every army, so we can kind of do some kind of collage when we talk about it again, just so people that haven't gone can see what they're missing, because it's one thing to talk about it, and it is a completely other thing to see exactly the execution that these people have. Like, because I don't think there's enough pictures out there to do it justice.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And just one final point before we move on from that. I think as well, the other thing was there was some beautiful armies. There were some beautiful display boards. There were some beautiful tables. But there were some great themes.
Yeah.
So you didn't have to have a phenomenally painted army. There were some great themes there that you just were like, okay, that's just a great theme, right? You just, I think one of them was the English cricket pavilion with the little bat, right? If you actually looked at the individual models, they were okay, right? They were nice, but they weren't like some of those that were best painted. But when you stood and looked at what it done, and they got music playing, and the cricket team and as partisans and all, it was just the theme itself was fantastic.
Yeah.
So I think you don't have to be the world's best painter to go and conquer. If I remember,
Well,
I think he was the best voted one by the
Yeah, so that's why we separate out the two different awards. There's one award for best painted, and that's the one that's judged, and me and Tom, we try to be as subjective as possible. You know, we have our rubric, we're going down, like we really want to find the most mechanically perfectly painted army. But then you have the other one, player's choice. That is voted on by the other people that are playing in the event, and it's whatever army they like the most. Does it have to be the best painted? Absolutely not. It is the one that you think is the coolest. And almost always, the best painted army is not the player's choice. And I think that is so cool.
That's
so
actually
if you just have an idea that is something unique, something that people haven't seen before, you just gotta, manifest your vision. And it doesn't need to be some sort of flawless paint job. It's just, were you able to pull it off? And that's a really good call out.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's nice to give these guys props too. Like, if you ever listen, guys, and you're one of those people that showed up to play, not just won the award, but showed up to play, well done. Well done.
I mean, and there were multiple display boards where they had a historical photo next to the display board. One that I vividly remember, there was a sign for some British tankers, and on the photo, they're driving past and it says El Alamein, 500 kilometers, and they had replicated that on their display board.
Yeah.
They had a little wooden sign with the white paint on it. Like, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And any one of these armies and any other event would be top notch. Player's choice anywhere else. It was just the fact that there were so many in one place that it is mind boggling.
Yeah.
All right. You want to bring this back in there, Craig?
No, it's good. It's good.
No, I know.
Just talking about some of the rules, just for 2024, some tweaks that look like are in the provisional rules. One of the things we noticed is that the dice order for the doubles goes from a combined 16 to 15.
Yes.
What was the thinking behind that?
So doubles, unfortunately, just because of it's 2v2 and you have somebody standing right next to you that you want to talk to before you make all of your moves, the games take longer. So in an effort to allow more games to finish, I've just dropped the dice cap just a little bit. It was 16, now it's 15. It's still 1,400 points, and I'm also adding 15 minutes to all of the games. Or can't remember exactly if it was 15 minutes or half an hour, but the games are going to be longer also. So we'll start a little bit earlier, we'll end a little bit later, but people are going to have more time, and then less dice theoretically should help those games move just a little bit quicker.
Okay.
Understand. Well, that's always a timing for a doubles event is always hard. Because you're always going to go to time in every tournament on every turn generally, because there's always some game, not a particular player, but someone who always needs all the time.
Right.
And when you get that many people together, they're playing together, you get that many more people that are going to need more time than they get.
Yeah.
So my next question, this is after I literally just finished painting up 3 units of Gurkhas.
Here comes the grill. Here comes the grill.
I saw the book and I was like, no Gurkhas. So I'm assuming you don't read minds, but what was the reasoning behind no Gurkhas?
Yeah, so there's a relatively short list of units that I think are almost universally agreed upon, to use an old Warhammer term. They are 1+ choices.
Yes.
Like if you are playing any flavor of UK, Commonwealth, etc., if you're not taking a unit of Gurkhas, you're like, well, what's your reason that you didn't? They are very undercosted for what they do. It's probably the most powerful melee unit in the game. They are not fun to play against. So that unit having a negative impact on folks' enjoyment of the game is why they have probably should have been on here sooner, but they've made it to the ban list. Along with, you got your IJ Bamboo Spear Fighters, Brandenburgers are on there too.
Oh,
you can take you can take the M3 Stuart tank, but you can't give it all those extra machine guns to give it, what is it?
But those 3 guys, they can fire all those weapons from inside there. That little tin can. They're
right.
I don't understand.
No, it's a short list of stuff. The Naval Observer is another one, and then you can't take actual warplanes. But other than that, pretty much everything else.
No, that sounds.
I'm sorry
reasonable.
that you can't take your Gurkhas.
I know, I was right.
I apologize.
It's all right. He wanted to make a Maori
Saturday.
Gurkhas.
You could take them on Saturday, just not Thursday, Friday.
He wanted to make a Maori Gurkhas anyways.
I did not hear that.
Spicy.
Paratrooping Maori Gurkhas.
That's right.
There is actually photographic evidence of a parachutist Gurkha, but definitely not a Maori.
Well, isn't there that apocryphal story that when they formed the one and only Gurkha parachute unit, that their only question was how high up is that plane? Because they didn't realize
they didn't realize that
parachutes. They're hardcore. So sorry, you can't come to my themey Adepticon.
My dad got. I remember being a kid. My dad knew lots of ex-military people, and one was a para. He was good friends with a para, but another one was with a former Gurkha, and he actually gifted him with his kukuri knife. And I remember always, whenever my dad, I get it out of the cupboard, my dad would be like, "You've got to cut yourself. You do realize, right? If you take that out, you got to put it back." And I would always chicken out, but he would, if he cleaned it, he would always honor it. But it was just like,
That's pretty incredible.
Awesome. But they, in bolt action, they definitely are.
It just make them 18 points a model, and then everything is fine.
Right.
Yeah, that's crazy. Now, so this is a question that Derek has, and is very specific to Derek, but it will answer the question probably for other people that may be listening.
Oh, you're jumping there already, are you? Okay.
I'm jumping there already with an asterisk.
Yeah, with an asterisk. So you've got your your general armored platoon
Yes.
on the theme, and it says TO permission, and you can go with the I'm forgetting the word of it, the general, the
Generic.
generic. Thank you.
Yeah.
What parameters are you looking for so that somebody can stay within theme, but use the generic because there isn't a list? And I'm going to ask you this now, and then I'll give you my example and see how that works out, that plays out. So if someone were to come to you and say, hey, I want to run this list, and I'm going to only use the stuff from 42, 43, can I use generic? What are you looking for to say yes or no?
Yeah. So basically, we're just looking for a business case. The reason that we require a theater selector is to put guide rails around the theme.
Yeah.
And there are plenty of forces out there that are very thematic, but they don't have a theater selector.
Yeah.
So if you submit something and just say, hey, Andrew, I'm running the generic tank platoon because this force, whatever, late war France, they don't have a tank platoon, and that's what I want to run. This is what we want to run. What do you think? 9 times out of 10, they'll absolutely have my blessing. But it really is just a little bit of a check, just to say, I just want to know where you're coming from. That's all.
All right. So going into the next one, 42 December or 43 December, I think, First Special Service Force pulls up, right at the cusp of your cutoff period. There is a battle preceding Mount Casino. The Americans are on the left, the Canadians are on the right, or I might have that vice versa. First Special Service Force is supported by both. There is a Canadian unit that had staghounds that fought and supported First Special Service Force. As much as I can tell at the moment, some historian out there might be able to fact check me a little bit more, because I've been looking for more evidence, because I didn't know how much evidence you would require. And I believe it was the Strats, or it might have been the Dragoons for the Canadians. So this is what we were looking at, was First Special Service Force backed up with staghounds at this battle. And man, I wish I'd written it down, but it was just before Mount Casino. It was in, I want to say it was December 18th, but it could have been December 16th. But that was our thinking, and we were going to write you the big paragraph. This is what we're thinking. First Special Service Force has their own list, but the only armored car is Humbers, and we were specifically looking for staghounds. Now I also realize that staghounds are kind of like Gurkhas in the sense that they're a pretty strong vehicle. So that's why we were like, is this even okay before we even go down this road?
No, that's absolutely okay. And the fact that you are able to point to an engagement, a theme, an order of battle, I don't need to see the documentation, but it's just, this is what we want to do, and unfortunately there's no theater selector that allows it, so how about we use a generic one? Not a problem at all. And yes, staghounds are really good, but you are paying appropriate points for them, and I don't think they're not like crazy overpowered. They're just, that's an effective vehicle right there.
Yeah, but you do pay the points, unlike Gurkhas. Yes, I guess. Right. But I meant more of the power level. But I guess you're right.
Yeah, no, that sounds like a really cool doubles army right there.
And Sean's already got the display board planned out. He's got we're putting magnets on the side of a cliff, and we're putting the First Special Service Force climbing up the side. We got the staghounds coming up the road beside it. We're like, when we saw what we saw, we're like, we left Adepticon, and we were on the road back to Canada, 8 hours. Everybody in the 2 cars talking to each other about how they were going to put their list together, so that we didn't run into the same hammer that we ran into when we went down there, which was, we had no idea that mixed forces were good. We had no ideas that display boards are more than just a little bit of grass on a picture frame,
a flat. Yeah.
there was and the themes that we picked were like I was playing Finns because I didn't want Germans, and he wanted to play Italians because that's all he wanted to play. So we're like,
Yeah.
we did we made up some fake document. I had actually had Chat GPT print me out a scenario where the Finns and the Italians are actually playing together, and I printed it out. But when we got there, we hit all that stuff because we were like, "Oh, this is embarrassing." This time we go down.
But it doesn't it doesn't have to be, historically accurate.
Yeah.
When I did the submarine raiding force, it was a U-boat off the coast of England, and we had a chain home radar on a little hill, and all these Kriegsmarine were in little like shore party boats going up towards it. Did that happen? I mean, no, but there's a couple of Netflix documentaries that might make you believe otherwise. But it's like, so it doesn't, I don't need you to bring some dusty tome, out to verify and justify your army costs. It's just everything you just said about it was in Italy, is coming up on Monte Cassino. They had support from these vehicles, and this is what we want to do. I'm all about it. And just listening to how hyped up you are, that's what more could I ask for?
Well, there was a bit of a fight between Sean and I over who was going to have the first Special Service Force.
Oh. Okay.
I've got family that was in it, and he's got a long love of it. So
Wow.
I went to the U.S. Mint. I bought the 2 of their coins, the first Special Service Force coins, and gave it to him and said, "Okay, you're for Special Service Force. I'll play the zipper
Wow.
heads," and off we go.
Wow.
So we got the coins for the thing too. So
That's
it's
the
incredible.
Adepticon challenge, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, so
right.
we won't just have the Adepticon challenge coins. We'll also have these coins. I'm ex-military, so I'm all about my challenge coin.
There you go.
So yeah, so that would basically answer anybody's question. If you can't find a specific list, but you have a specific theme, and it doesn't include Gurkhas or upgunned M3s, chances are you can bring it.
Yeah, and just email them to me. I mean, it could never be too early to submit your army list, and I can give it a review.
And that's the Chicago Dice email, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Chicago
okay.
Dice Team at gmail.com.
Okay, I'll make sure I put those in the show notes, guys.
Oh, excellent.
So, Andrew, anything else you kind of want to mention about Adepticon 2024 before we wrap up? Any plans, changes, improvements?
Still early in the game.
It's still early. The one thing I want to call out is there's been some clarifications on the theme, also known as comp scoring. So there's 5 points for everybody's overall score, and that is a combination of submitting your army list on time, having your army list have a cohesive theme, and that does not necessarily mean it's a historical representation of anything. It's just sort of like what we were talking about way earlier. You don't have an inexperienced second lieutenant leading an all-veteran USMC raiding party. Like, you don't do that. That is against the theme of the event. It's against the comp of the event. So those are where those 5 points come from. I've added some more language around that on the rules page. That's probably really the only big change. But yeah, we're incredibly excited. Registration will probably be up in December, January. It really depends. It's been in November way years previously, so your guess is as good as mine when it all goes live. And I also want to know, because there's things that I want to register to play.
Actually, there's one thing that came up from our previous episode when we were rating the events and such. And I mean, you'd be happy to know that Adepticon and the doubles, bolt action doubles, scored very high.
Happy to hear it.
Yeah, so I mean, it was the only one so far, but it set the standard of the benchmark. It is a high benchmark. But one of the suggestions was, I mean, we saw it used not very well during the singles, but was an app like Best Coast Pairing, or
Yes.
I think there's another one, Tournament Keeper, or so. There's different ones,
Yes.
but Best Coast Pairing is the BCP is the main one. Is there any thoughts around that, or is it just too much of a minefield that you just like, okay?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. So Tom and I were actually using Best Coast pairings on the back end to do
Okay.
all of the matchups, and we were doing it just on Tom's computer. We didn't push it out or publish it at all, and that reason was because we were using Best Coast pairings only with battle score, but your actual score in combat patrol and doubles is a combination of your battle, your paint, your sports, and your theme. So our worry was if we publish this out, you would have folks going like, wait, I thought I scored best painted, but I only have 60 points out of 125. What's going on here? It's because we were really only using it to say these two people table 1, these two people table 2. So we were trying to avoid any confusion. Best Coast pairings is really, really nice when you don't have as much soft scores going on in the background. Your paint, your sports, your theme. We talked with, shoot, I can't remember his name right now, but like the person who created Best Coast pairings, he came by on the morning before doubles, and we spoke to him a while, and he had a whole list of all these enhancements, and we really, really liked what he was saying. So we will absolutely be looking into that again. I think Game Uplink is another one that does a similar thing. So yeah, rest assured that myself and Tom, we will investigate, but I can't make any promises because if it makes our jobs easier, we want to do it also.
Yeah.
Even if you caveated that with everybody going into the tournament, like, hey guys, don't get too hard on the scores. We keep the soft scores and everything over here. This is just so you can easily see your opponent, easily see their list, so nobody's, ramming papers across.
Well,
but you're right, you're always going to get that one person who's...
The thing about that, though, and maybe I couldn't figure it out on the PC version, I couldn't upload PDFs of army lists. I could only do plain text. So I had a PDF copy of every single person's army list because they submitted them to me ahead of time. I couldn't get them uploaded. I had to just copy and paste them in there. And that was a whole nother nightmare that I didn't worry about. So it wasn't there last year. Hopefully we can do it.
There is a possibility.
Is
there a possibility if you've got everybody's list on a PDF of maybe like putting on a Google Drive or a Dropbox that people could see it? Just so when you're going to the table, you can go, oh, you're Ian, and this is Ian's list. This is your list. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
It's just for us going down there. I printed off all my lists and left them on my desk and drove to Chicago.
I think a lot of people do that exact same thing.
But I had my phone with me the whole time. and I kept pulling up my list and saying, no, I'm not changing it on the fly. This is my list.
No, I'm writing that down right now that, the week before, put them all into a
because they're fixed.
Dropbox or they've already been submitted. The missions have already been published by then, so people already know. Plus, if you're going to use that in some way to your advantage, like this ain't the advantage.
If you can, I'm gonna give you, kudos to you for being able to figure that one out.
Yeah.
Another cool thing that would be interesting would be to reach out to Bo Mortensen with those. I don't know if you're familiar, Andrew, with Bo's channel.
Tangentially, I've poked around in there a little bit, but I'm not super up on it.
It's really interesting because he looks at the meta of things. I mean, he's looking at it from a competitive side, but he's looking at the meta of things, and he also looks at it. He predicts who's going to win based on their lists, and stuff. So it's a good community thing. But what he also does is he does coaching from that. So he kind of he'll take a list apart and basically say why this unit should be 7-man or not this because it's overcosted, or why did you give your Gurkhas submachine guns, right? They've already got
you don't need them. Yeah.
So it's a good place for all levels of player to go to and take a look. But you can actually if players have submitted their lists and you actually then send him that so he can access
he'll look at everybody in the event.
He'll look at it and do and stuff, and it's really interesting. It's just a good
that
just
is
a good community expansion and
right. Okay. Yeah, yeah. we
Because
can-
I
we
almost
can
made
look
him
into that too.
cry. So, I mean, maybe somebody else can this year.
You made him
Well, I
cry?
think yeah.
With my list, my Finns list, because I took for the singles, I took 3 Capricalchi full.
Oh,
So
okay.
three quarters of my army points were off the board.
Yeah, the
But it was
the deep strike.
Yeah.
but it was hilarious because Bo said what to do to counteract that. And the first guy that Derek played had actually watched one of Bo's videos and knew how to play against
Yeah.
Derek.
Oh, that's
He had a
interesting.
bunch of French, so he had 3 full platoons of inexperience, or maybe 4. So he did the well, you play 40k. He did the Kroot defense on the
That's right.
backboard edge, and then went up a little bit and circled around his artillery. And I didn't have the heart to just come on the edge, roll him up, and the next dice come up the edge and roll up a little further, because I thought it was great. So I got a picture of it, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to give that to you. I'm just going to come in over here and come in over there. I ultimately lost that game, obviously, but it was fun.
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty legendary defense right there.
Yeah, right? Anybody at 40K gets the reference. Everybody else, I have to explain it to them.
Yeah.
But the funny thing was, like Craig was saying, I sat down and I handed him my list, and he goes, "Did you send this to Bo?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I almost made Bo cry." He goes, "You did!" Like, I saw this. I've been thinking about what I would do if I got your list. And I'm like, "Oh, great." The only guy that thought about my list this whole tournament, and I get him first round.
did his homework.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
brilliant.
wild.
That's the stuff that makes it memorable, right?
Yeah.
It's like the 2 bar shots that go wrong, and
Absolutely.
so. And I've also got a grudge match I need to request. I'll send an email to you.
Oh, happy to accommodate.
Play the Iron Dice guys. It was such a fun game.
What a great group.
Was that when your
Yeah.
Fubar, or his
No,
Fubar?
that was another chap. That's when his his
Sniper?
officer shot his sniper and something else. But no, there was in our game, that was the one where Kevin fired his mortar into a marder, and because it was open topped and he rolled a 6, and he rolled a 6 and it blew up. And that was
So Ben and Evan, the 2 gentlemen from Iron
yes, Ben and
Dice,
Evan.
so they walked out with the the classic wooden spoon award. They reached out to me and they said that for next year they are sponsoring the wooden spoon, and like they're creating an actual award to go
That is
with
awesome.
that. Because they just walked up to me and they're like, "We're all about this. We're all in. What can we do for next year to sponsor the wooden spoon?" Come on now. Like, are you
that is
kidding me?
awesome.
It's so cool.
Yeah,
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
So they're our grudge match.
Okay.
So this has been great. I mean, we could probably go on for another hour.
Oh, definitely.
I think we could.
We'll have to figure out a way to get you back in the future. But if you wanted to be found by people, where do you want to be? How do people reach out to you or to Chicago Dice?
Yeah, absolutely. So the main site is chicagodice.org. You can contact me via email at chicagodiceteam@gmail.com. And then I'm also at Chicago Dice on Instagram and at Chicago Dice on Facebook.
Cool.
Excellent.
Thank you. And the last thing about Chicago Dice is there articles on there all the time, new stuff coming on, new content. Definitely recommend. Who would you recommend it to?
Yeah, so Chicago Dice right now is overwhelmingly majority bolt action. Joe and I had just finished up game 12 of Fortress Budapest. We're playing through all 16 of them. He is currently winning by 1. So the campaign is very, very close. I update the bolt action beginner's guide whenever I get a chance. And I just put out a little while ago, there was breakdowns for all the Commonwealth rules, because they're in like 6 different books, and then all the Italian rules, because they're in 4 different books. And those are nice little resources for folks. But as we all play different games, so when the mood strikes me, I put up other content as well.
Excellent. Nothing wrong with that.
No.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Andrew. Appreciate you joining us on this podcast, podcast number 2, and Dice Hoses, and for being our first guest. It's been a blast. I'm sure we'll definitely get you back as we get closer to Adepticon 2024.
I love it.
Yeah.
No, thank you both for having me. This was an absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much, Andrew. All right, and we're back. So, Craig, what did you think of that interview last night?
I thought it was awesome. I thought not only is he a good guy, but it was quite insightful into the tournament, how he went about making it, his involvement in his journey, how he went from being a participant to running one of the events and then on to running all of the events, and how well it's growing. So that's great. But not only that is the fact that he's a really knowledgeable player as well. So
Yeah.
it was, we definitely got to have him back for another episode or two. There's definitely a lot more there.
Yeah, I liked how he was willing to entertain letting you have some paratrooper Maori Gurkhas, but in the end decided no, you couldn't have
Yeah,
them.
that's yeah.
Paratrooping,
although
paratrooping Maori Gurkhas with captured German weapons is not
Yeah.
on. It doesn't fit any theme.
Yeah.
Conflict 47, you can do it, not this.
Yeah. But Derek did get approval to do his staghound list.
Yeah.
Nice.
When we were discussing, as you guys just heard, these guys have only heard bits and pieces, so they haven't heard it all. Discussing on how and when people can use the generic to do something as opposed to a theater selector, because they prefer a theme. Obviously, they would like you to use a theater selector, but if you've got an idea or a concept and there isn't a theater selector for it, it's not a big issue with him. As long he basically just wants you to have fun and come with an idea, not come all checked out min max, but have an idea of what you want. Like, what did you do? And he doesn't need a detailed 12-page essay of historical facts or anything. He's just like, hey, these guys were in the area. Maybe they worked together. Maybe they didn't. Go ahead. Have fun. So that was kind of cool. So with that, I guess we can just segue right into the Adepticon 2024 plans. Looks like our partners are pretty much decided with Sean and I. So we're going to go ahead with our theme now because I got permission. Well, I have unofficial permission. I still have to send him everything. But yeah, so Sean and I are going to be doing First Special Service Force with Lord Strathconnor Horse or one of the Dragoon companies. I can't remember it, but probably Lord Strats driving Staghounds. So that's going to be...
Lord Strathconnor would be General Simcoe from the American Revolution.
Yeah, that could be another one. But I
No,
don't
that's
know if the
guy.
horse...
It was
Yeah.
General Simcoe. If you saw that show...
Turn.
No, Washington Spies. It was set on the. It was
Oh,
set
that
on
was a
the
good one.
East Coast. But they had a depiction of Governor Simcoe in there as the British, as one of the British officers. They did him very dirty.
Oh, gotta love that.
It was-
An officer done dirty. Ooh,
Oh,
We're
British
all-
officer.
we're all
on an
so
American
upset.
TV show. No, but it was a good show except for that point. Now, whenever I hear Lord Strathconnor, I always think of that show.
So what do you think, Sean? The idea sounds good. I'll let you
Yeah,
decide
not
if you want to.
competitively. competitively. I think it's going to lack again, which is
Yep.
fine. We'll have 2 bazookas with the 1st Special Service Forces. We won't have
you
much
got-
in the way of AT templates.
Yeah, but you got light
No
anti-tank
flame range.
guns with the stag hounds.
Sure,
So,
sure, we will.
but,
That'll be good for taking care of soft skin hordes, but it'll be all right. I mean,
Yeah.
what's important is the display board. That's all that's going to matter.
And we talked extensively about display boards last night, and you guys heard I described roughly what we wanted to do with ours. So that'll be fun and interesting.
Turn, Washington Spies. You were right, Derek. Turn, Washington Spies.
Actually, that was Matt, but that's all right. I'll take credit for a movie I've never seen.
Well, you were talking.
Other
Interrupting
TV
me.
series.
I'll give you credit.
Our other teams are, I believe, Evan and Matt and Craig and Kevin, or have you guys swapped again?
No,
Sorry,
we're swapped. So we're
Sorry,
doing.
one thing. Were you going to
That's why
send
they
your list?
we keep talking over each other.
Go ahead, Matt. Are we going to send our list where?
List to Bo again, so you could have a good laugh and.
Yes.
So he can cry. I don't know if this one would make him cry so much. He likes stag hounds. I don't know. We did talk about lists with Andrew allowing Bo to see all the lists, much like he did for Sealand and a couple other tournaments, where he goes high level quickly through all the team lists. So he might be doing that. He thinks it's a good idea. So we'll see how he feels about that. So you said you switched. So who's partners now?
So Kevin and I are together, and then Matt and Craig are together.
So Evan, why don't you go ahead and tell us, have you guys figured out an army theme or any ideas? Are you playing with any ideas yet?
So we were discussing it on the drive back from Adepticon about doing a 2-teamed op force type theme, and grandiose plan. Granted, we were very lack of sleep, was to have like one big display board for both teams. So Kev and I are going to do Stalingrad Germans. So I'm doing the 22nd Panzer Division from November 42. And then the armored platoon version. And then Kev will have foot troops to sort of complement each other. And then Matt and Craig are doing Soviets.
Yeah, and I will have lots and lots and lots of machine guns.
Because they're ever so useful. So what's the shared display board idea? How's that working for you, Craig?
That's as far as we've got.
Oh, I see.
First I've heard about it.
That's the first I've heard
You
of
were driving the car.
I heard about
Craig.
it.
Yeah, Kevin was in a different car, so it sounds like it was Evan and Craig talking about it the whole time. Kevin was in a different car. Matt was driving and half asleep. So, Craig, obviously you were the other half of that conversation. How's your feelings on this?
I think it's because we're doing Stalingrad table, and for 2 reasons. One, it's a good list. Street Fighting Academy is a good list, so wanted a bit of a step up for that. Secondly, also because we are playing in a big battle for the Commissar's house, I think on one of the days, with Dave Gorey. So is it Saturday? So I think we're going to be playing it. We're playing a big, I think it's the Sunday, but it's a big mega battle thing, Commissar's house, and so several of us from Dice Hoses are going to be the Soviets. So I just thought it made sense to just stick to a Soviet theme. So although I'll probably end up doing 2 lists, maybe even 3 lists but they'll all be Soviets. So because it's 1,000 points for the mega battle, 700 points for this, and then 400 points for the combat patrol. So so it's going to be Soviets. Matt's doing the Operation Uranus tanks. It's going to be the armored platoon, because I think one of the things that we learned from last year is
this year. It was this year.
Oh, sorry, this year. Yeah. Last Adepticon this year is that there's armor platoons running around, and so you've got either you go all in against that, or you need some mobility. So I think Matt, you're going with T70s. That's kind of what we're looking at?
For the doubles, yeah, T70s with tank riders.
Yeah.
I keep changing my list. I think there was an armored car in there at one time. I think it's been taken out again.
It's not like you have to
might get-
lock it down, 10 months
I
away.
know. No, yeah, but
Yeah.
you know,
But-
I want to get it locked down so I can get it painted and not have to paint 1,000 things that I'll never use.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially Soviets. Not my favorite, but the Stalingrad. I love this whole story of the war. Well, the battle there. So, yeah, I think it'd be fun.
And I think the tanks, are they the autocannon ones or the?
Yeah.
Couldn't remember.
As long as I can find some files to print, because unfortunately Warlord doesn't have the models for the T70s. They got, I believe it's the T60s,
Right.
which are very similar. But
it's the same for me with the Panzer threes. They don't.
Yeah.
The Warlord doesn't make the E or the F. Which
Yeah,
is the
but-
one I want.
Wargaming 3D, they've got so many files. I'm sure you'll find it there.
I've already
Yeah.
bought it.
Yeah, there you
because
go.
Yeah.
like the T60 is machine guns, I believe, or no, one shot from a cannon, and the auto cannon's the 2 shots. So
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
and I think with our plan, we're hoping to use them against infantry platoons because you've got a ton of
got a lot
anti-tank
of
assets.
Yeah. I've got, I think 4. Yeah, I've got 4. Oh my gosh, what are they called now? The Panzerfaust. I've got 4 Panzerfaust, and I've got 4 dog mines, and which are I just want to see how those dog mines run around.
Anna Marie hates you for that.
I
She
hate
hates you
that,
so much.
right?
I just want to see 2 of them go after the T70s.
Yeah,
Oh, that will happen.
hopefully that's not going to happen. It will happen, but hopefully
will.
not often. And then 2 Zis 3s. So basically, there's a lot of anti-tank there, and the Zis 3s can also be artillery as well. So it's a good combo. So I think we're going to go with the Stalingrad display board. Like I said, our half will be, which is what Kevin's been building, and that's our theme and aim of the team is to, well, one, have fun. And as you see Kev showing up the Sarissa Stalingrad buildings, one of them. But I think one is that we're going to do, one is, of course, have fun, but 2 is to push our club standing up from where it finished last year. And I think as well, naturally we should do better as well in our pairs results wise, because I think we're a bit more experienced than last year. So
Or at least we know what to expect this time around.
Yeah.
yes, we didn't know what to expect last time, whereas this time we're kind of going in with more wide open. But yeah,
The only thing I knew was the display boards were going to be dioramas. That's what I knew.
yes, yeah. And I think that's where we were talking about with Evan and Kev, is that because they're also choosing from the Stalingrad list. I think you choosing from the Stalingrad book, is that right, guys? Or have you?
Yeah. I'm Stalingrad book. Yeah.
And is that the Hell's Gate? There's one that's Hell's Gate, which is a good German list.
Can't remember offhand. Sorry. No.
Yeah, I think there's 2 from one's Hell's Gate, and then there's another.
Yeah, I think so. You're right. Yeah. So I think, and then what we call is one is to put the display boards together so that it looks like one big scene, which will make things harder for the judges, which is cool.
No flash.
Yeah, and
Yeah, you guys can make it as hard as you want. Sean and I are going to take it. That's just a fact. But okay.
well, I admit it's going to be hard to win against First Special Service Forces models that are magnetized walking up a wall, right? So
yeah. Well, me and Evan were talking about having a running waterfall before, but now that I guess we're going together, we're going to have to scrap that idea.
Yeah. Scrapping that idea. So Craig, are you going to have one dude in your force painted like the Street Fighter arcade game, showing our age now? But I think
Oh.
or all of them.
all of them.
Yeah. I don't know. I definitely think, probably not this year, but I definitely would like to maybe next year do a kind of a weird theme one. Like, I mean, Andrew was telling us about it in that interview where he's talking about one of the examples he did was a submarine that was off the coast of England, and it was above water, it had surfaced, and he had all little boats with Kriegsmarine rowing towards the English coast, and that was their display board. I mean, that is cool, right? Or like when we played at the 2023, there was the guy who had the partisan list that was made up of English nobility and local townspeople and stuff. So I think it would be good one year, maybe next year, to do a fun, completely out of the box event. Playboard.
So I was just checking my notes while you were talking. So my list comes from the campaign Stalingrad book, the 22nd Panzer Division Armored Platoon.
Oh, yours is, because yours is the AP.
Yeah.
Okay. So Kev's must be the Hell Let Loose. Hell's Gate. Yeah.
So back in our Flames of War days, when they were there was one army somebody put together as a crazy army. You know, the Phantom Legion in England that was across from Calais that they made, where it was balloon tanks. So somebody made an entire army of balloon vehicles and little standard cutout people, little army guys, just like on flat pieces of paper painted, and that was his army. It was just balloon tanks and cutout people.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, there's some definitely but I think I think it would be fun is for the group to go down there and of course again is have fun, but two is just to compete with the dioramas, right? Yeah. With the display boards. I think that's kind of the aim. So yeah, I think that's what four of us are up to. We're going to need bigger cars though, because we don't need for these display boards.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I got the roof racks now, so we should be good on my side.
Nice. You taking the bigger car as well?
When I tell Anna Marie, yeah. sorry. When I asked,
we're going to be taking 3 vehicles next.
I'm sure I can take it.
Yeah.
She'll just have to squeeze the dogs in my car.
Oh, no. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody got any plans for the next week, Craig? Hobby plans?
Yeah. So, a few things. So I think one is that I'd finished painting up my Blood Red Skies over the last few weeks, and we've put in orders, or about to put in orders for get some Victory at Seas. So in the meantime, I have been building up my Soviets, building everything and anything, because I got the Stalingrad box. So just building all that out. No plans with it yet. I'm even stuff that I'm not using, I'm just building just for the fun of it. So I've got it all available because I want to play some test games with it and see how things play and stuff. And then also Shatterpoint comes out next week, so I want to play some. Get my hands on some Star Wars stuff and play some of that as well. So it'd be Victory at Seas and Shatterpoint that I'm going to be building and playing, and then there's 2 tournaments going to bolt action tournaments. One is going to be at Tista Minis on the I get confused which is which. I think 24th of June.
Twister Minis is July, and Critical Hit is June.
So I think June 24th is Critical Hit, and July 15th is Tista.
Yes.
And neither one of them's on a Sunday, so I'm gonna be hard pressed to. Well, Crit Critical Hit's just out. It's just too far
Too far.
by the time I get off. But I might be able to shut the store for a half day and then take off in the morning and go to Tista. I gotta earn some brownie points and beg the wife. So
Yeah, well, that honey-do list, you could really reduce it.
knock it down,
Yeah.
and say, "Hey, honey, look what I've done for you," and she'll be like, "What have you done lately?"
Did you not see these new 5 things I've added?
Yeah, that list never ends.
Yeah.
Feel like a
Yeah.
mouse in a wheel.
Only time you get to the end of that list is you haven't gone next page.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the last line on on that page, and then you throw it out and see the next one.
Yeah. But I'm going to take my I'm taking my British Indian list with Gurkhas. So it'll be the first time the Gurkhas come out to play.
Oh, with the Indians.
Yeah.
I'm bringing Italians in June.
Nice. I actually thought you said you were going to say I'm going to bring my son Joe, but
He's still in training, but he's getting there.
oh, that's good.
What better training than there's a tournament?
I gotta. Sorry, Evan. I was just thinking. I gotta see if I could fit an army in with the guys with all the fez hats.
Okay.
All right. Anybody else got any hobby plans for the next couple of weeks, Matt?
Well, I started doing 2 squadrons of Germans, the 109s and 190s. So
For Blood Red Skies.
Yeah, sorry for Blood. What did I say?
You didn't say anything. You just said Germans and 109s and 190s.
Okay, squirrels. Yeah, so I would like to get them done before. Well, after that, I should get back to bolt action, get that finished, so I'm not rushing around at the last minute. And then, yeah, Shatterpoint and the boat one, Victory at Sea. Start working on those again.
You're getting Victory at Sea and Shatterpoint at the same time.
Squirrel.
Yeah.
What about Cruel Seas?
That's ship a sail.
It's already painted.
Yep. No fun on that. We only paint, we don't play. Kevin, what do you, aside of the MDF hobbies that you're doing, or the MDF training that we make you do, what do you got going on?
Yeah, I got to finish the rest. I got some Waterloo stuff and whatnot. I have to finish off.
Yes, you do.
While they decide on color things, and then I think I'm going to destroy my hobby area and rebuild it.
Wait, why do we have to decide on color?
Because it's a building. Craig wanted paint.
Oh, you're
and
painting
purple
it?
stuff. Yeah.
You're painting our display?
He's painting the building.
Made my display as well, obviously.
Oh, okay.
Then it'll be, but yeah, I'm going to destroy the hobby area, I think, and rebuild it. I've got some ideas now that it's been up for a couple of years. A lot of wasted space, a lot of clutter. So I'm going to destroy the whole thing and do some cutting and whatnot, and then rebuild it better and faster. Kind of like Lee Majors, but out of MDF and wood.
And hopefully it doesn't cost you $6 million.
I hope not. Jeez.
Yeah, not $6 million, man.
Yeah. No, I think it's going
Although,
to cost me. I think I have already.
That's just a house off Lakeshore. That's $6 million. You could rebuild someone for $6 million nowadays. That's pretty.
Thankfully, working at.
And that isn't the lakeside of Lakeshore either.
No.
Yeah.
For
Working
our,
in the laundry
our
yard, I
brothers
got
and sisters
go on
south of the
stuff.
for our brothers and sisters south of the border, $6 million. What's that like? You go in to see a doctor and you got flu.
Oh, he plays the
I got a
healthcare card.
sliver.
All right, so if you're gonna toss some shade there, Evan, what are you doing?
So tomorrow, getting the shelves, putting them up, redoing the hobby area after I've just moved. So
Nice.
Hey,
I need
check
to-
these out.
He's got shelves.
IKEA.
yeah, that's where I'm going tomorrow.
Get yourself
What?
a
They got shelves now?
Oh,
all
they're
the
metal.
rage now, 'cause they're metal and magnetic.
Nice.
They're all the
Never
rage.
heard of everything.
Is that the Baby Bjorn or the Borschen?
No, it's the Hurricane.
Okay. I'll look for that one.
in white.
They're downstairs in IKEA, just sort of in a shelving area in the middle of the floor.
Yeah. Do you take any of the shortcuts, or you just keep following the big arrows all the way through?
I went with my oldest, and I tried to take shortcuts, but she's an IKEA purist. So
Oh, did you get yourself a couple of hot dogs to eat while you're wandering around?
no, you get those at Costco, $1.69, hot dog and a pop.
Yeah.
No, they got better ones at IKEA.
I don't think the word better and hot dogs can be used in the same sentence, but that's all right.
I
So you-
watched the sausage get made. There's nothing better about hot dogs.
So you notice that IKEA they don't have arrows on the floor anymore. They have a light shining down that is the arrow. That's after one guy in Europe, as April Fools, he went in and he put a whole lot of stickers down that were the same font as the IKEA stickers, and it's caused chaos. He had like roots going back against each other. It was a number of years ago.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that.
You know, you could probably still do it today, though. People would follow arrows that go wherever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wouldn't make any difference whether there was light shining down an arrow or just one painted on the floor.
No.
Sean, what do you? I think you said earlier you got some Slaves to Darkness. You got anything else coming in the upcoming weeks? You said
Oh,
a
yeah, I've got
GT tomorrow.
Tournament tomorrow. Then I'll be off for some board games at a friend's after the tournament for some probably Settlers or something. And then a couple weeks after that is another tournament in Welland at the Mini Wargaming.
Oh, you're going there.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then a couple after that, I'll be joining you guys at Critical Hit for Bolt Action. But I just finished painting up my Lannisters. We'll be playing. I'll be doing some Song of Ice and Fire in a couple weeks.
Oh,
Nice.
Played around with that game
What
a
is
little
Mini Wargaming? What is it? The Bunker, the store side that runs the tournament? Like I know there's like Mini Wargaming is basically the whole place, but they don't post it under Mini Wargaming. Their GTs, do they? I've just never
No.
seen it. That's why.
But I think they did. I think they said we're back because they haven't
Oh,
posted
okay.
a tournament in a long time since Dwellers moved to Mecca and St. Catharines.
Oh, Dwellers moved out.
Yeah, all the Dweller tournaments are in St. Catharines now. At the
Oh,
Mecca
okay.
place.
Okay. But doesn't Mini Wargaming? Don't they have a storefront that somebody else runs while they do the studio?
Yeah, they have a store. It's a very tiny storefront. I don't know how they may. I can't see them being profitable. There's so little stock.
We should go and spend a weekend, like a Saturday night at the place in St. Catharines with the bunk beds and stuff, where you can like rent the whole place.
That's Welland.
That's Mini Wargaming. Thanks for joining the conversation.
Yeah, but it's a great store. It's a great bunch of guys. I like going there.
Well, I've never been
I
there,
love
so
the
I didn't know
venue
that was
itself. It's such a big room.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds cool.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Anybody else got anything going on? Different games, different hobbies, different painting? Nothing?
Diablo 4 comes out soon on PlayStation, which the whole family's excited
yeah.
about.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get into that.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm getting into it big time. It's already
Alright.
pre-ordered.
Yeah. I'll
Not
be in on that.
I.
Although that means I've just had time to finish up my Jedi Survivor game. I'll wrap that up. Just did time then for Shatterpoint. And I'm still working my way through Clone Wars season 7.
You gotta finish Clone Wars.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Ahsoka's coming Disney on in August. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
there's
Can't wait
this.
for that. Can't wait.
Just
Cannot wait
going
for
back
that.
going back to Bolt Action, because Evan, you're going, Sean, you're going, and Matthew, you're waiting for permission, right?
Actually, well,
Oh, you're on call.
I'm on call. It's not permission. Yeah, it's just I'm on call.
You're on call, so you can't go. Kev, what were you going to say?
I'm gonna see if I can make it.
Okay,
For one
cool.
of those, or both.
I keep forgetting how full Kevin's schedule is.
Evan, what list are you taking for the tournament?
I'm going to do my free French again.
Be French.
Yeah.
You taking the naval gun?
Yes.
Nice.
Don't leave home without it.
Hey, I've got an Italian gun I'm gonna paint up, a nice little medium artillery piece. Just make myself a little more competitive, just a tiny bit.
It shoots
Did
both
you-
ways.
Did you
Yeah.
get the tank? The what was it now? There's the Italian tank bristling with 23 machine gun shots, whatever it is.
Yep. Yeah, I've got that one.
Nice. Are you going to take that?
Yeah, I suppose I will, because it's open, so I probably have to go late war and take Panzerfaust as well. Although I might just skip the Panzerfaust and just ignore tanks and hope I don't run into a tank company or tank platoon.
Yeah. Then it does. It's just these generic lists. There's no theaters, so
Yeah.
it's gonna be meh. Okay,
Mm.
but
If I go, maybe I'll bring my make Bo cry list. No, I think if I can make it, I think I'm going to do a modified Staghound list, just to see how it runs with well, just see how it runs, and then have more of an idea for Adepticon as to what we want to do.
When is this? It's 4 weeks away, right?
Yeah.
Dice Hoses podcast episode 3. Derek rethinks Staghound list.
I got 10 months, man. There's no.
Bye.
There's still the chance that we just say screw it with the armored and do what we did the first time around and just go down with nothing but infantry, and we both run for a special service force.
That's not a bad
Would
idea,
you-
because
because
at
then
least
you
we'll
get
be able to play the missions.
Yeah, you get 4 bazookas.
Yep.
And they
No
all
template,
no,
flamethrowers. We'll be able to play the missions.
yeah. So
Is
that's
that
a
what
that's
you
a
get for
temptation.
bazookas?
Well, because they get both
Yeah.
sides will get 2. You get 2 bazookas each.
The worst part is no transports, though.
Yeah.
So coming in off the table will be a problem. If you want to protect yourself from a preparatory bombardment, you're going to be single.
But
They didn't have jeeps or anything like that.
Not
Not
that I
really.
saw. Not that I remember. I don't think there's any transport.
Wow.
But I mean, they also do the
Stolen bicycles, where they go.
do they move through difficult terrain as if it's regular. They've got all kinds of movement shenanigans. They got hidden, which is you can't if you deploy them, they can't be seen on missions that have whatever caveat lets you do that. And they've got master something or other, so it halves the reccie's ability to spot them. So they can be, in the right scenarios, they can be really, really, really tough. In every other scenario, they're just pretty much like any other infantry.
I'm assuming hidden
ahead,
doesn't
Matt.
help them from prep bombardment, right?
No.
I don't think so. No.
I can't see that. Yeah.
But they've
Artillery shells
they
tend
all
not
get-
to mind. Whether there's some trees over top or tree branches attached to you with some grass.
They get good anti-tank grenades and all that sort of stuff, don't they? Don't they get a whole whack of that stuff?
Yeah, they get the anti-tank grenades, but the way the anti-tank grenade, what's the word I'm looking for? The way it works, the whole idea behind it, it's like you make one hit, or everybody rolls to hit the vehicle, and whoever successfully hits, or however many guys you have that are successfully hit. So say 6 guys go in, 4 guys hit, and then you roll a d6 and add 4, and that's your armor penetration. So the higher the armor, so against light skinned vehicles, you're probably going to take them out. Against anything around a 7-8, and you're running around with like min platoons of 6-7 guys, you're not going to do anything to anybody. And that's just that's the mechanics of the anti-tank grenades, and it kind of makes a little bit of sense too. 6 guys running around a Tiger tank, they really shouldn't do a whole lot to it, So.
Yeah.
But,
Well, we could do a future episode where we're talking about our lists and look at it, review it, and figure out how we're going to play it. So
yeah, definitely.
So that's pretty much the hobby plans for the gang. So next episode is going to be Blood Red Skies. Talk about that. We participated in when we went to Adepticon, we played in the Blood Red Skies scenario big battle, which was great, and we're aiming to go back in 2024 play tournament. And also we've got an announcement in that next episode as well around Blood Red Skies as well. So make sure you join us for episode 3 in a few weeks, and peace out.